Julian, I think the question on everybody's mind, and a lot of people are already speculating, is that there's going to be changes on Mint Street as early as Monday after this loss to the Cowboys. Do you see David Tepper pulling the plug on Frank Reich or Scott Fitterer right now?
I was wondering about this going into the week. We all knew what it was going to look like on Sunday. The Panthers offense would do nothing. The Cowboys would do a lot. And it would be a Bank of America Stadium full of Cowboy fans. Very similar to what we saw in Week 5 of last year against San Francisco, where the Panthers got embarrassed at home in front of a bunch of 49er fans and not Panther fans. And I don't blame Panther fans. There's not a product on the field worth watching and spending your hard-earned money on. But on that Monday, Matt Rule was fired. So it's a possibility, because this felt a lot like last year against San Francisco, that they decide, David Tepper that is, to make a change, whether it be Scott Fitterer or Frank Reich. I just don't know if that's going to really change anything, because at this point in time, at 1-9, the season's already lost. The development of Bryce Young is not going to be helped by getting rid of Frank Reich or whoever else on the coaching staff at this point in time. So I could see that happening maybe on Monday, but I feel like we're waiting until Black Monday in January for there to be really any changes, because the changes, it's inevitable. It's going to happen.
Yes. Listen, Bryce Young wasn't spectacular in the first 3 quarters, but I would say he was stable until the dam broke. He threw the pick 6. Then he had the fumble under, again, tremendous pressure. What do you make of him after this game, and how do you make anything of him when he's sacked 7 times, pressured countless times, hit 10 times?
Well, this was a competitive football game deep into the third quarter at 17-10, and Frank Reich talked about that. Oh, they were in the game, and that's part of the problem here in Carolina, that we're talking about moral victories in the NFL. This isn't some Sun Belt team facing off against Georgia on a Saturday. This is the NFL. So moral victories don't really count. As far as Bryce Young, the pick 6, not great. But other than that, he was fine. He was as good as you could expect. And Greg Olsen talked about it on the Fox broadcast. I don't know how you can fairly evaluate Bryce Young as long as he does not have guys in front of him who can consistently block. He doesn't have a consistent run game. He doesn't have any weapons outside of Adam Thielen, who's going to be 34 next year to throw to. I just don't know how you can really blame Bryce Young. Has he looked like someone who is number 1 overall pick caliber so far? No, but there are reasons, the ones I just stated. They can't block for him, they can't get open, can't catch the football, they can't run the ball with consistency, and the scheme hasn't necessarily helped them. So that's 5 different things that have played a role into Bryce Young struggling so far this season. Until they fix that, I don't know how anyone can sit here and blame Bryce.
Play calling. Frank Reich reclaimed it. We haven't had a chance to talk to you about this yet. What did you make of that move this week and the implications that it has?
Well, he didn't really explain why it happened. I'm kind of confused still. It's like last year when David Tepper fired Matt Rule. He had a press conference and wouldn't tell anybody what happened. We talked about this before we came on here. Only thing we found out that he read Scott Fowler's columns
as we all
Observer,
do,
which I did before coming in here. So that's great. Frank Reich, he said, okay, well, I feel like I got to this point because of being a good play caller and a good offensive coordinator, which so far through 7 games here in Carolina hasn't done a great job play calling or coordinating an offense. And then Thomas Brown only got 3 opportunities. And one thing there that was interesting is he caught himself. He was saying, what do you expect him to do? He kind of said, you know, you can't really make magic out of this. I think that was a direct message to David Tepper, who I believe was instrumental in Frank Reich having to give up play calling. And then Frank Reich just said, forget it. This isn't working out. And maybe he's trying to protect Thomas Brown.
Yeah.
I know it's not great for Thomas Brown to only have 3 games, and you know how difficult it is for people in his position in the NFL to even get to this spot as an offense coordinator, as a play caller. But maybe Frank Reich is trying to protect him, to not have this stain of an offense that's not going to get any better all on him. But it's just another one of those confusing decisions the Panthers made that does not really impact them in any sort of positive way, as we saw again today, as they only have 13 offensive touchdowns on the season and scored 10 points. So,
did you see any difference with the offense now that Frank Reich has returned to play calling? I mean, I think we saw a few new wrinkles, a little more under center, an attempt to play off the run. The run game was pretty solid.
I think we saw a lot under center compared to what we've seen so far this season, and that's been really the big gripe that people have had about the offense is in the shotgun, it's been predictable. If you go under center, at least you can provide the illusion of, you can go play action. You can do some different things, give the defense some different looks, opposed to always being in the gun. And they talk about they want to have Bryce Young be comfortable, and he's more comfortable in the shotgun. Well, he's never going to get comfortable under center if you don't run him under center in the game. So they did that today, and I thought on that 4th and 2, after Dallas had the roughing the kicker, or roughing the punter rather, they were able to have a play-action pass out to Tommy Trimble, and Bryce looked fairly comfortable doing that as the game progressed, which is a positive thing. They went more up-tempo, so you did see some changes. The only thing that really matters is total yardage, under 200 yards. The points, only 10, one more touchdown. It's still not good enough. It looked different. I guess it was a little, no, it wasn't a little better. It was much
187 total yards, season low. All right, so 1-9 start. There's 7 games left. Some combination of Titans, Jaguars, Falcons, Saints twice. Probably missing somebody in there, but what does that look like for this team? I mean, what do you think they can do against that set of the schedule?
Oh, well, we're going to have yet another referendum game come Sunday because Will Levis is the quarterback down there in Tennessee, and he was someone that was on the board. Now, a lot of teams passed on Will Levis. The Texans, which I don't think they're regretting that decision at all. The Colts, they passed on him. And, of course, Carolina Panthers, who could have taken him number 1 overall, decided, no, we're good. And he had 2 touchdowns again today for Tennessee. Now, they got blown out by the Jags. But Will Levis, we'll see what he looks like. But I'm sure fans are going to compare what he does to Bryce Young and the situation going on down there in Tennessee, which could possibly similar to one here in Carolina if Frank Reich somehow survives this. Mike Vrabel has had success, more success than Frank Reich as a head coach in the NFL, but he stayed on while their general manager, John Robinson, was let go by their owner down there in Tennessee. Is it possible that we see a general manager change and then Frank Reich stays along? I don't think that would be the case, but it's a possibility. But that's the game that you would think that's maybe winnable. We also thought that Indianapolis was winnable, that Chicago was winnable, that Atlanta the first time was winnable, that New Orleans the first time was winnable, and, well, you know, they lost all of those football games. So possibly they could beat Tennessee. Jacksonville beats up on bad teams, much like the Dolphins. So
Packers, I forgot there. They won today.
They got to win. They struggle on offense, too. Could be a rock fight. Yeah, I think maybe.
So much to look forward to.
Maybe they could find a way to win some games. I don't know.
Yeah.
They haven't been favored all season long. I think they've covered once. So, yeah, it's the holidays, folks. Hold your loved ones tightly and just try to get through it because hopefully, fingers crossed, there will be better days here in Charlotte, whether it be the Panthers, the Hornets, 3-9. That's looking great so far. How about Charlotte FC? Never mind, it's another David Tepper production, so probably not. But one day, Davidson basketball.
They had a great time at the Asheville Championship last week, and their women's team is killing it right now. Two wins over ACC teams. All right, last question kind of pertains to what we were just talking about. With whatever the Panthers can do over this next 7 games, do you think David Tepper is, hoping that certainly he's hoping that Frank Reich can win some more games? Stupid question. Might cut that out. Might keep it in just to have egg on my face. But, what do you think Frank Reich needs to do? Is what I'm asking you. For David Tepper to have any sort of patience for a second season.
The only way that Frank Reich, in my opinion, can stay is if the offense shows improvement in the final 7 weeks, which means scoring more than 1 touchdown in a game, actually winning. Bryce Young not getting sacked 7 times, that not happening, and then maybe he can stick around. I have a hard time seeing that because it's not just the offensive play calling, the offensive issues for Frank Reich, it's the lack of discipline. You saw they had 4 penalties in the first half defensively where they've been shorthanded, and I have given them praise for being able to look better out of the bye. But the boneheaded penalties from Xavier Woods where have you ever seen a guy get a horse collar tackle and a face mask?
I was almost impressed. Because that's got to be physically tough to do.
And that's not the first time. You had a couple weeks ago, it was the Colts game.
3 personal fouls in the first half.
He had one on Michael Pittman across the middle. Now you can question whether
more of a clean
either
hit,
way,
I think,
it's just you have to be smarter in those situations. And he doesn't learn his lesson. Deshaun Williams, why even do that?
A shove in the back at the end of a stop. That was brutal. The
constant procedural penalties, it's a lack of discipline that we see. And they're professionals, they're grown men, I get it, but we see that, and then that's on top of
there has to be accountability for that, and that's why we draw the line to coaching.
Exactly.
All right, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and Charlotte.
Yeah.